So I'm trying not to find anything too terribly long, so I'm going to go ahead. This is keeping me in Mexico. It's also going to give me an urgent delivery bonus, so I'm going to go ahead and go with this job here. So for those new to the channel, welcome. Definitely trying to be a little more diligent about kind of the YouTube logistics, I guess. I'm really bad at that, or have been bad at that. So if I have a New Year's resolution, I guess, regarding the channel, it's to kind of focus a little bit more on just making people feel welcome and, more importantly, part of the community and so forth. So, I'm always thankful for those of you that subscribe, so thanks. For those who are here as regulars, we've got a little bit over 700. We're on the push to hit 1,000, so I'd certainly appreciate folks liking the videos, subscribing to the channel. That's how the YouTube algorithm works and gets the channel out to more audiences, which then will help grow the community and will help increase more conversation and so forth here. Because I'd certainly like to get to the point where maybe it's a little more interactive and I can get a little bit more community feedback to drive what it is that I'm doing and what I'm spending time on and so forth. Because right now it's just what I feel like doing at any given point and trying to somewhat stay on a little bit of the schedule for those who come regularly and like to see what's going on. Oh, are we going out? I didn't think we would be heading out of the city, but do I need to rest? Yeah, I actually do, so let me do that. Alright, so it's a little bright and early, so maybe we're just going to Cascadian Farms here. I'm hopeful, because we're still supposed to be in Ciudad Juarez, so I wouldn't expect that we'd be crossing the border again, but we are just headed in a really interesting direction. So obviously sleeping, we're getting a lot of folks. Okay, why is he... I hate the way the AI does this. I'm not really that close, and it's like sensing that I'm here, and so it's just slowing down and waiting, and that just makes things worse as far as getting across on traffic. Wow, there is just a steady stream here. And I would imagine this would probably not be an incorrect depiction of how this works here at the border, because I would imagine there's a lot of trucking going on right here, right across the border. Oh goodness, I didn't even see him. Alright, well, hopefully at this point... So that's the thing, the other truck was stopping when I was...
Finding a new route.
Well, wait a minute. Alright, let me look at the map here. Where does it want me to go? Oops. So, we are where now? No, I went too far out here. Okay, so where am I going? Did the job go away? So, I'm a little bit foolish as I talk about that. The way it's possible is I decided to take a nap and do my sleep, and it was only a 5-hour window. So, foolish me, I basically had the job vanish because I rested. So I got too distracted because I was too excited talking to everybody. Alright, so let's see now, while we're waiting here, where we need to go. So, oh goodness. Can I get there in an hour? And wait a minute. Yeah, that is an insane direction. Why can't I go that way? I think I'm going to try to go that way. I don't understand how that's Ciudad Juarez, because, yeah, right now it's telling me it's going to be 268 miles in 18 hours. That obviously isn't going to work. So, yes, definitely, you know, kind of back on, and I'm hoping I can get to this job, and I'm not going to lose a job again. This is going to be part of the challenge, I think, of working Mexico, which is part of why I wanted to see what I could do here to see if things would work well and how challenging it will be to be down here, because I know things don't move as quickly. Clearly the lights don't move as quickly. This is a bit insane as to how long we're just waiting here. I'm just going to take a quick peek. Is there a light? There isn't a light. So what? I mean, are we just stuck because of an accident? So I think I'm going to go around because, yeah, otherwise I think we're just sitting here. So I think with all the traffic, I think somebody ran into somebody. Yep. And they're just sitting here. Alright, so the hope is that I can get where I need to within the time that I have. Apologize for the wacky camera. It's always a bit of a challenge as I'm turning on things and being in the dark. It's always a bit more difficult. But yeah, what I don't want to do is now, I think, turn to the right when we get to the next point. Now, the time is dropping like super fast. It's like 17, it's down to 17 hours even though I've only gone a few miles. But I don't think the time in game is moving. Yeah, it's not moving that quick. But yeah, basically I can see on the mini-map that I can't turn off in this truck. So I've got the GPS overlaid, but I can see that intersection that I want to go down. I also need gas, so I think I'm going to stop and get gas at that filling station that I can see out there lit up in the distance. So we'll definitely go ahead and do that, because otherwise down that road we don't have fuel. So we'll get over there and we'll get gas. And then once we're moving along, we'll have a little bit more of a conversation to talk through there. Alright, let's see. It looks like over here to get some fuel. Not sure why. Alright. So let's fill up here. Not terribly expensive. I've seen worse in the game, that is for sure. Takes a little while to fill up a truck, so I'm done here, but 238 gallons. The good news is, you know, we've got a pretty big operation here at this point. You know, we're over 50 episodes in. I've been able to hire a lot of drivers and move things forward a lot faster. Now it's still telling me 271, so this makes me concerned that we've got some sort of a map problem up here that isn't going to let me get where I need to get. So yeah, we're going to BHP Billiton. So I just need to kind of get there myself. It's for some reason routing me all the way down and then back, maybe because in theory there's some dividing section, but hopefully if it's just dirt or something we can drive through it. So we may have to get a little creative. I don't really understand what is happening and why. Alright, so this should be a little faster. I don't see there's any reason that I can't go this way. So rather than waiting in that giant line of trucks, because in both cases we don't really have an automated booth here, so we'll have to wait. Well, come on, there we go. I didn't want to get too close and hit the gate, but takes a little while for the gate to clear there. So one of the things that I'm not sure how this is going to work out, so my plan is I want to be in Mexico for a little while. I've not been in this area much. We've come down in early episodes on really long runs, and so I've kind of come in, and then I've been, it was when I was kind of grinding away in the beginning to try to get more levels so that I could unlock as much as possible. These trucks are also not driving really well, so while I can, I'm gonna kind of go over here. I'm thinking BHP Billiton is there, off to the left. I'm hoping that's the location, and if we get there, we'll be good. So I've never been down here for very long. I've kind of come in and gone out, and so what I'm trying to do now is just take advantage of the fact that this map is here as a mod that I've added in, and going ahead and working with that now. Alright, okay, so this is not it yet, because now I do remember there was like this turn, and then it's further out, so I'm just, again, hoping we don't run out of time to get there, because I will say this is, for being in the same city, this pickup point is not close. I will say that. The normal AI problems again, trying to get on. They nearly come to a stop. Some of them will probably run into each other. It's just always a challenge. So the other thing that's happened recently in the ATS world, you've probably heard Oklahoma it was announced a little while back, but Kansas was just officially announced. So they had kind of hinted at it and said 2023 was going to be the year of the sunflower and so forth. So there was pretty much heavy speculation. The only thing that was floating around, and I was hopeful, and I'm sure others were as well, but that's not what we've seen, is that they might do multiple states in the next update, because we're kind of in the Great Plains now, and my understanding from folks who knew a little better was that, I see what it is, because in theory we probably shouldn't be turning left here, but that's alright, because that is ridiculous. I would just make a U-turn anyway. Alright, so at this point it's telling me, 18 minutes, but the fact that going down this road is 18 minutes of game time is a little concerning about whether, again, I'll be able to get here in time. So what we had learned was that North and South Dakota also did a lot of sunflower processing, even though Kansas is known for growing a lot of sunflowers. So the thought was, well, maybe they're saying it's the year of the sunflower because they're doing them all, and it's still possible they may do them all within 2023, because the thought would be that it should be pretty quick. So let's see if our job is... It is not. This is going to be too far, I think. Wow, that is a long, long job. Alright, but looking back at the list, it's still my best option. I would be heading up and taking one to Chihuahua, but that's not very different, and perhaps if I go this way, it's not going to appear as insanely long as it is here. So I'm thinking what the challenge is there. If you remember that intersection as we came in here to this plant, it tries to just have you come in and go out in that one lane. Like, they don't want you going in the other lane, but I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to go where I need to go to make a living, as opposed to where you'd like me to go, because you've put some curbs in and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, because again, that's telling me it's going to be 8 hours of game time. As we've seen, obviously things tick down quite a bit, but even so, it's telling me 300 miles that way. That would be a a good hour at least in Mexico, I think, so I would prefer to avoid that if I can. So now we have our load. So we'll get going, and while we're going again, we'll just chat on the way. So right now it's telling me 363 miles. I'm hoping once I make the illegal turn to the left out of here, that will shrink substantially. But there's a possibility, as I was talking about the creation of the states, the hope is still that, well, they're the Great Plains. It's not like there's some really complex scenery they're going to have to build. It's, or mountains even like what we have here. You're just going to have a lot of flat land in North Dakota, South Dakota, which are the states, and Nebraska, which are the states north of Kansas, as we continue to just kind of keep things contiguous. I mean, there's no belief that suddenly SCS would deviate from just methodically moving across the country the way they are. They could certainly, I suppose, throw in Louisiana because they thought it was more interesting or something and go that way, but hoping they don't, because I think they could output a lot of content pretty quickly. And so the hope is maybe, we'll see a state every quarter, and we might get 4 states added on today. Today. Today would be nice, but that's not going to happen, so silly me. It's amazing to me how much traffic exists down here, the way this is modeled. I don't have any heavy traffic mod, nothing like that. Alright, so now this is saying 224. It's still telling me 13 hours, but once again, I think with what I've been seeing, I think that's going to be grossly off. I mean, it's telling me it's 41 in-game minutes, or 41 real-time minutes, which might be accurate. So, let's see. I should be able to go 60. And hopefully then, we'll be good. I mean, the challenge here is computing the rest time, because right now, in theory, I'm exceeding my rest time, but now that I'm kind of getting up to speed, it is falling literally every second. I'm probably losing 4 or 5 in-game minutes. And if this gets to go faster like we were before, where we could go 68 instead of 56, that will tick away even quicker. But right now, I'm in the potential danger of exceeding that time. Okay, guys. One of you passed the other. Thank you. Alright, there we go. Now we're at 68, so I will speed up appropriately to try to get things done as fast as I can. But going back to the modifications to the game, or the DLC add-ons, I'm hoping that, maybe every quarter we'll get a state, and we can get 4 states in the next 12 months. That would be really, really incredible. And this is a lot of what we have in Mexico. Sorry to go back to what's happening. Horses eating on the side of the road happens. I've obviously certainly driven through here before, so I've seen that, but we go through these small towns where, we just speed up and then we have to stop again. And so that's what makes Mexico a bit challenging, which is also why I'm not looking to take any really long routes here. I'd like to take the short routes because that's likely to get me to go to places that I haven't been to as well. Right now that doesn't appear to be the case with how I'm going. But, the hope is that will change. But hopefully now we'll get a little bit further speed. But yeah, we kind of tend to run into, we just get going, we're finally, moving at 60, 65 miles an hour, and then we have to slow down to 40 to go through a town, or stop at a lot of toll booths here and so forth. So I think these are going to be longer episodes, because I've been trying, I always try to target between 30 minutes and an hour, because that seems to be the spot that people like. Once again, as I talked about, as the community grows, but those of you that are here, give me feedback on that. I mean, what's an episode time that you enjoy watching truck simulators or anything that I'm doing on the channel? I've got a pretty good variety at this point. I just introduced Car Mechanic Simulator. I'm trying that. So trying to just do different things because I'm, interested in trying different sims and things that are intriguing to me. And I've tried Car Mechanic recently and found I enjoy it. So definitely adding that to the portfolio of things that will be appearing on the channel, at least periodically. It's definitely not a series that I've determined is, it's going to have a set time or a set cadence or anything. But things have come and gone, and the goal is producing content that you guys like and are interested in and would be willing to come back for. Because in the end, that's what YouTube is about. A channel with no viewers isn't really that fun to sit there and provide content, and there's no interaction going on. So love talking with folks, so definitely hope to hear from more of you in the comments. And again, if you are liking what I'm doing here and want to see more of it, want to know to be told when things are coming up, the easiest way, like the videos to increase the algorithm, suggesting them to others to grow the audience, and then also subscribe, which also helps the algorithm, but then keeps you informed and makes it a lot easier for you to see things on the channel. I try to put things out. I try to have something daily. There's been a bit of a gap recently because honestly, generational farming has sucked up my life right now. And that's going to be going on for a little bit more than another month. So there may be some inconsistency with what's coming out. So there may be some inconsistency with the timing of things. Certainly on the farming simulator side, normally that's the bread and butter of the channel. That's what I spend a lot of time in, but I'm not doing anything that different or that much of a variety in generational farming, so I'm not always putting a video out constantly, especially now I'm going into winter over there. So there's probably going to be a few days where things are skipped, but normally that would be every other day you're going to get a farming simulator video. And until I get my regular server farm in FSN running again, which requires some land to be purchased that isn't coming up for auction yet, I am missing my kind of core series, which is my main FSN farm. So you're kind of joining, if you're new, at a limbo state of coming to the channel, but it's not for lack of desire or willingness to provide some content. It's just right now I'm a little content poor for a bit, although it's sometimes there's a generational farming video every day, because I do put those out more in real time as I'm working it, and since all the FSN servers run in real time, I'm usually on the servers every day. But again, like now in winter, there's not a lot happening, so even a short update doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, you're not here for Farming Simulator if you're here in this video. Let's just get back to what we're doing here with ATS. So we're getting down to, let me reset my trip meter. I forgot to do that. We're down to, it's telling me 115 miles right now. So, and we are headed to Delicias, which I think I've been to, or through at least. And we're going to be delivering to FedEx down there. I'm not quite sure why I'm slowing down, although I should. Not my GPS, my cruise is set a little faster. It's a really big field there in the center. I'm guessing that rancher or whoever it is that has that land fenced off had some influence, because otherwise I would think, at least in the US, the authorities would be like, we're just doing eminent domain, and we're buying you up, and we're keeping the highway together instead of diverting around something that, frankly, I'm not quite sure how whoever owns that land, they get to it and do anything with it. So, but that's the situation in the ATS world, is we're back into that space where we have 2 states announced. We were out of that for a while when Texas got released. And if you're interested in Texas, there's content. I was doing some things in Texas a few episodes ago, for 4 or 5 episodes there, I think. So you can certainly get a look at that new DLC if you're looking for that. There's some content in this series, just a few episodes prior, so I encourage you to take a look at those. But when they announced that, because that was such a big update, I think a lot of teams were tied up, and Montana had kind of come out relatively shortly after that, and it just took, or before that, and it took a bit of time, as it normally does, for them to announce another state. And so then Oklahoma was announced, but it was pretty close to the Texas release, and so then you kind of had Oklahoma out there, but no other state. And so there was some thoughts of like, well, what are they working on? Are they, people were getting worried, like, hey, they've gotten past the exciting states, because now we're just headed into the Great Plains, which is just a lot of flattened corn. People were starting to speculate, like, they're just going to stop doing things on ATS, which I'm not sure why. People always do the Chicken Little sky is falling thing. I get their businesses and so forth, but I've seen nothing that indicates that those of us who enjoy ATS are going to sit there and say, nah, we just wanted to buy the mountain states and we're not interested in anything else. I just don't see that feedback from the community. So I'm sure SCS is like, yeah, we'll keep making states if you guys are going to keep buying them. And that's really going to be the determining factor, is, if they work through Kansas and suddenly the sales are 10% of a Colorado or something, then maybe it will die off. But we only have kind of ourselves to blame at that point. Yeah, this is very confusing on the GPS, so I apologize for a bit of the disjointedness in the last few seconds there, because she's like chirping in my ear, and I'm like, what am I doing? Alright, so we're down to 67 miles, so we're getting close. But no, this is definitely a series I enjoy, and having more content, official SCS content, is always welcome, because while the expansion maps, which is what this series is based on, hence the Coast to Coast name, I'm using a lot of expansions. You can see them down. I post them in the details of every video, so that if you want to basically create the setup I've got and have access to the same locations, you'll know what to download and so forth. But basically the Coast to Coast map takes me across the whole country, and then something like Midwest Expansion overlays that and does a good job in Kansas and Oklahoma. There's a lot of detail in there that I frankly haven't explored as much. I've just driven through a couple times because I was taking a look at that before I started recording the episode here. And there's a good amount of content there that I'm not even sure, honestly, that SCS will provide that much detail. So it'd get a bit interesting, and I wonder if they've ever considered going ahead and maybe working with those who did some content and say, hey, can we take what you've got and use that I cannot speak. Use that within what we're building to flesh things out, because once we're done with this load, we'll stop, and before I sign off on the episode at the end, I'll show you what we've got in Oklahoma and Kansas, and it's pretty good. So I would think as far as a road network, it's pretty good. I mean, on the map, because I haven't driven it, I can't speak specifically to the visual content around it, but just having that amount of roads would certainly be pretty interesting, and be more, I think, than what SCS typically puts out. And what I don't know is the technical benefit or the ease of pulling that together. Like if it's just like, yeah, here's the road network, I'll put my roads in there, and everything will get married up, and that just creates extra roads. But then, I think they still would have to decorate around and so forth, and so it still becomes a time thing of what can they get in, and then keep the DLC at a price point that once again doesn't hit the trigger of, frankly, every community with every game that has downloadable content, which I think is pretty much everybody now. I don't know that a game can really survive well or continue and have a long life without DLC being released, but it seems no matter what they do, that you've got the complainers out there. Why are they charging me $15 for this? It's American Truck Simulator. It should just be given to me for free. I have no sympathy for that argument. I work for a living. I'm assuming these people, or most of them who are doing that, are not simply 8 years old and not yet working. So I assume they work for a living too, and so to expect a business to work for free for you just because that's what you'd like, I don't understand. Alright, well, we're going to test this because I don't know if I can turn right on red in Mexico, but we'll find out. Well, it didn't give me a fine, so I guess I'm okay. Wow, we went from 67 miles in all that time to 62. So yeah, this is, we didn't make a lot of progress, which is also part of the challenge in Mexico sometimes, is you really eat up miles in one section, but then it drags in another. And some of it might be just being here in Chihuahua, that it's kind of in that city mode that you get into in SCS when you get to any large population center. So, we'll see how it goes, but obviously I need to get there and deliver the load one way or the other. I mean, I've got plenty of time. I'm still 6 hours. I didn't look actually if this was still an urgent delivery, like with all the chaos in the beginning of the episode where I kept losing loads that I was hoping to get. Sometimes my fault, sometimes not, but I didn't really pay attention to what if any bonuses exist on this job. Alright, so another light. But part of why I wanted to hang out down here a little bit is, if we take a look around while we're waiting, we've got that kind of statue there, monument. We'll take a cleaner look outside. Pretty impressive model. But the folks who have created this set, and my understanding from what I've seen of where you can obtain it, it sounds like it's a lot of creators that do, I think they're still called states down here in Mexico. Obviously they're called states in Spanish, but translated it's still states. And so I think they take a state or two, and they kind of are the ones that are designing that, and they all come together in this Team Reforma that then releases this map as a contiguous piece. But you'll see Team Reforma signs every once in a while as we drive down the road, and they have then different names under them, and so I'm assuming that is the content creator for that section of the map that we're going through. And a logical dividing point would be, a state or a locality. So Alright, now it appears we're moving along again. We're down to 50 miles. And it's telling me under 10 minutes in real time, so we should hopefully be seeing our drop-off location soon, but I don't know how that's going to work. So there you go, you can see Team Reforma on the overpass there, and then it had a name underneath in green, which I assume is a group that was responsible for Chihuahua, which I'm assuming is not just a city, but also a state in Mexico. And so they'll kind of do that whole area. But compared to some of the Midwest map areas that really are pretty dull to drive through, which is frankly why I haven't been drawn to do anything like that there, and why I'm all for the most part for SCS to get those official, because I know they'll create at least a good quality amount of decoration around the roadway, that it just isn't the same thing pasted over and over and over and over again for hundreds, or what seems like in some cases thousands of miles, but it might not be that much. But the Midwest expansion area, however, on top of CTC, which is coast to coast, was better in some areas. I just don't know how much they really have decorated out there. And so at some point, I'm sure I'll get back into that section. I'm not sure how long I'm going to kind of meander here in Mexico. At some point I may just be like, this is too much, but I may not be, because frankly, it's pretty nice down here. I mean, you've got a lot of buildings, you've got a lot of different views. They've done the power lines. They've got a lot of signs around, so it looks like a well-designed area, where a lot of what is in Midwest expansion in places like Indiana and things like that, you're just kind of driving through where they clearly just put in a road and that was it. Oh, we have something discoverable. Whoa, boy. I didn't realize the train was coming. Oh, it's green. We've discovered a new viewpoint. I'm just freaking out. That would be the last thing I need, is to be taken out by a train. That would be really sad. It would be a sad ending to the series. Alright, well, I will take the third exit, but before that, I'm gonna check out this viewpoint. So I hope you won't mind. And this is something that not all the map expansions have either, are the fact that they've done these viewpoints. So I think it's just great that these content creators are talented enough to be able to jump into that. This is a really fast drone, or whatever it was that did that. Don't hit the sign. So that was a long shot. Alright, some sort of... Yeah, because we're not at this roundabout, I don't think. I'm guessing it could be some kind of war memorial, maybe. Alright, so... kind of what I expected. I wasn't expecting anything. Oh boy, there's people behind me, and then I'm gonna hit somebody, because I don't know that I can... I should be okay. I might go up on the curb, but depending on what kind of borders they have, it's probably gonna let me get away with it. Alright, the third exit it had said, so I'm going over here. Alright, I can see the flag on the map now, so I can see where we're headed. No, Centex property there. But you can see, I mean, the cities are very... Excuse me, the cities are very fleshed out, and everything is pretty dense and pretty well done. I think we're going straight. Let me just peek real quick here. Yep, alright, so we're going there, around into FedEx. But, you can see there's a lot of delivery points on the map, and it's very different than some of the other maps that I've got in the series here that are just... they feel like they're just lines connecting me A to B, and that there's not a lot of thought or design that went into it. But that's the reason I like and wanted to explore more of Mexico here, because I just felt there's a lot here. Now also I know SCS is unlikely to do anything down here. You know, it's American Truck Simulator, which I'm assuming doesn't mean the continent of North America, or certainly South America. It means it's another word for United States, and so they're focusing on those locations. Maybe someday they'll expand. Okay, here's the thing we had seen. They're just gray pieces of stone, so not really sure what they are. Alright, here was that Bodega Ahorrara, I'm thinking is what it is supposed to be. Tacos, a little stereotypical, but I'm sure there are taco stands in Mexico. Whoa. Alright, well, this is not your mama's FedEx location, I'll tell you that. This is almost like a construction site, but... Ooh, what did I hit? Just a big bump. Alright, because I did not back up, I just kind of powered through it. Alright, and it looks like if I go around into the back, that is my delivery point, so we'll do that. With the spaces angled this way, I'm assuming this would be the direction we go around the building, but I'm sure it's also a two-way. And probably past this park oh, well past this park trailer. Yeah, I really... I'm half tempted to just turn around. I don't know, I'm hemming and hawing and I'm probably making it worse. I don't know that I'm going to be able to. This is pretty tight. Oy, oy, oy. I'm skip parking. I'm too stubborn for that, but I'm kind of jackknifing this truck, which is not great either. So I might get some damage to the trailer as I do what I'm doing. I should have kind of known it was in the corner that way. Maybe coming around the other way was better, because at least setting up here, I'm going to have a little bit cleaner direction to park. So the other piece, now as I look at my Western Star, which was a newer model, that was the other thing SCS has released very recently. I think it was in an update this week that I had to download off Steam. They've added a new truck. The Western Star 5700 XE is now available. You know, I'm not likely to change. Once again, I suppose if the community's like, yeah, we'd like to see the new truck, you know, maybe I can add that to the fleet and start driving that instead. I just, you know, like my little bear paint job and whatever that I've got here. I'm always a little too far on getting near other trailers. I like overshoot. It's a ongoing problem I have, even though I have hundreds of hours in ATS. I'm still, I mean, I get in there, I'm careful not to cause any significant damage or anything, but it always seems I'm just fighting that, and maybe that's more common in trucking, but I would assume good drivers probably aren't doing what I'm doing as often as, sadly, I seem to do it. So, but in the end, it wasn't terrible. I've gotten here. Alright, so that gets us done with the load. Alright, 224 miles. Not a bad payout, not bad experience. You know, we're in the higher levels now, so it's going to take quite a bit of time to move. Thanks for tagging along. The last thing, though, that I had promised to show you, however, whoops, I always forget which key to move. So, if you're not familiar with the United States, this is Oklahoma, the little panhandle here, and this is Kansas. Above it is Nebraska and so forth. So that's what I was talking about. So, coast-to-coast map, you know, kind of gets you, as it says, from coast to coast, but then all of this road network and so forth is really courtesy of Midwest expansion, which I can say is no other way than an overlay of coast to coast. And so, you know, there's still some states here, like Alabama, Mississippi, and so forth, that are pretty light. You know, same thing out here. As I said, you know, Indiana's gotten a little better, but, you know, when you're up north, for example, you know, North-South Dakota, like, you drive these roads, I mean, they get you there, but they're not super exciting. And so, again, I've gone through here, but when we had the official Montana expansion, that kind of broke the discovered roads and so forth. And, you know, I've been to those cities, I think, because they existed in the Montana expansion map I was using in between. So it's giving me credit for them, but that's why there's no roads leading to them. So I didn't teleport in there or anything. But you can see, you know, there's just a good amount of territory, at least, and certainly over here there's really what looks like a really interesting road network that might be challenging to drive. And so, you know, maybe what I'll be hoping to look for is if I can head into this direction from where I'm at here in Chihuahua next time, you know, that'll take us places we've not been, because I've gone, you know, all the way down here as far as I could, and as far as the map goes, we've done a pretty good job of covering what they allowed in Baja. So it's really, you know, all these down here. So, you know, at some point I'm going to have to make a decision, but right now I would be fine going here, but we'll see what jobs are going to be available next time. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, all the normal YouTube stuff. Please, you know, like and subscribe. But in addition, I hope I'll see you back and you'll continue to follow along in the series as I work my way through Mexico for a bit. So I'll see you next time.